Lesson 2. Meditation, scientifically explained. Further considering technique, there is much confusion in the minds of some people regarding the relationship between an inspired idea and the technique for its expression. I have often heard people say, "I could never be an artist, for I could not even draw a straight line." They assume that having a technique will make them an artist. However, what makes someone a master artist is not technical ability per se, but rather the soul qualities that reflect the soul of cosmic mind. For this reason, I would like to expand upon what I said in our first lesson regarding the relationship between concept and technique. Anyone can acquire a technique to give a physical expression to an idea. However, in order for the physical expression to be masterful, the idea must be deeply inspired from within. Further, just as your inspired conception is the result of a conference between your soul and the universal soul in order to produce a thought body, so must your rendition into a physical expression continue that soul-to-soul conference. Every technical rendition of a painting or a symphony, or a product of a factory, which has been conceived by the soul of a master, must also be rendered by the soul of the master. Every brushstroke or tone of a symphony must conform to the nature of God reflected in the nature of the master. Giving love. The nature of God is to give out His love for re-giving. The nature of the master must be to give out love to inspire others to re-give love. It has often been my good fortune to hear such masters as Podorowski and Gabrilowicz practice scales and finger exercises. The unthinking listener might marvel at such skill, while one who listens with inner ears hears the silence of the soul even in such practicing. The soul alone can give out love. The body can render a perfect technical reproduction, but if the love nature of God is not in it, it is not art, for the art of anything is not in the skill of rendering a visible or audible thing but in the beauty and love that only the stillness of the light of the soul can give. And herein lies the difference between the genius of a master and soulless mediocrity. This is why your constant communion with God is necessary at every moment of life and at every stage of your creation. God must sit with you on your piano stool or workbench. Your hands must be His hands. Your thinking must be His thinking. Love must be interwoven in every stitch of whatever pattern you are weaving, every word you are writing, and every interchange between yourself and your fellow human beings. Love is rhythmically repeated in its givings and regivings, synchronizing with God's giving of inspiration to you and your regiving of inspiration to others for re-inspiration. This rhythmic repetition of balanced giving and regiving from the stillness of the soul within the oneness of your soul and the universal soul is law, the fundamental law of all creation in this electric universe. The measure of your mastery is the measure of how well you accord your conception and rendition with this universal law. Interpretation and inspiration. The degree to which you can extend the beauty of your imagined rhythms to material bodies built in the images of your spiritual conceptions is the degree to which you create masterpieces of great art. The very measure of the quality of your material interpretation lies in your ability to translate imagined forms and rhythms of the universal heartbeat into bodily forms and rhythms that can re-inspire others with the ecstasy of your inspiration. When you inspire others, you are manifesting the nature of God and the fulfillment of His law by giving love. Those whom you re-inspire are, likewise, manifesting the nature of God and fulfilling His law by re-giving love. You cannot re-inspire others, however, if you leave God out of your technical rendition. That is why meditation is necessarily continuous. That is why great masters never go into their concert hall or to their easels or workbenches without an interval of time to forget materiality to seek the zero of the still light that centers the consciousness before extending their thought images out from that stillness into the three-dimensional universe of moving electric waves, which is what creation is. Not only should you start every day by seeking that zero of stillness, but also you should continue every moment to seek that source of inspiration, from the beginning of your creative action to its fulfillment. How often have I literally opened the door of my studio, after some disturbing telephone call or other distraction, to let my sense self out and let God in. You cannot do anything of yourself alone. Whether you know it or not, you have to acquire God power to even lift your finger. You are automatically controlled in every action. Why not be controlled by working with God knowingly at all times and being fully aware that God and His law are working with you? Continuous meditation means continuous God awareness. That continuity of awareness is forever leading you higher into the high heavens of your own mountain top. This is the great glory of life and living. This awareness alone will lead you to masterful achievement, peace, prosperity, happiness, and the love that endures. Essence of meditation. The basic reason for meditation is that you want to ask something from God. You do not begin to ask God for anything until you begin to realize your oneness with God. You then ask God because you realize that you cannot fulfill your soul's desire without Him. When you ask Him, you naturally ask how you may fulfill your soul's desire. 0 God, show me the way. Illumine my path with thy light, you say, wordlessly, in your heart. Your soul asks in the silence of a universal soul. Naturally, your inner ears cannot hear the answer except in the silences of the light of inspiration. Naturally, also, you cannot comprehend the wordless answer from the silences of rest in His light unless your soul is so attuned to the universal soul that your inner ears can hear that answer in the universal language of light, which is the language in which God speaks to an inspired individual who knows God in him and is thus illumined. Naturally, you seek aloneness with God in the quiet of your chamber or workshop or in the forests where the nature of God is manifest in the forms and whisperings of rhythms that echo within your own heartbeat. The desire to seek aloneness with God puts you in a meditative mode. The more you attain oneness with God, the more you comprehend His language of light, for which you can develop words and forms. When the state of being one with God becomes a natural state of your being, you will no longer need to make a conscious effort to seek aloneness. Meditation will become a natural state of your being, in which you work knowingly with God under any circumstances and in any environment. Therefore, if I so desire, I can descentrate to the still light of all-knowing in a subway as immediately as in a forest. Soul's desire. Let us examine what is meant, in the preceding section, by your soul's desire. What is your soul's desire? Your soul's desire is your deepest desire for attaining the greatest thing in the world that you can attain, which is to be like God and to manifest His nature. How can you be like God and manifest His nature? What is God and what is His nature? Simply stated, God is love, God is light, and God is the truth that lies in the light of all-knowing and power. This is what God is, and this is the nature of God, cosmic mind, or universal soul. What does God do? Again, simply stated, God extends His knowing and power from the still magnetic light of His mind, through the pulsations of His thinking, to moving waves of divided lights in order to create one pulsating body to and manifest the love, the light, and the truth of His knowing, which constitute His nature. This is exactly what you do to the extent of your knowledge and power. You extend your knowledge and your power from the still light of your mind, through the pulsations of your thinking, to create your universe in forms that reflect your nature. Whatever you create in your own image. You call it your individuality or personality. Whatever it is your image projected into forms you imagine to manifest your nature. You create a manifestation of yourself by thinking your knowing into form. If you know but little and think but little, you will create yourself into a little person. If you think out of balance, you will create an unbalanced individual with an unbalanced body. If you are a hypochondriac, you have made yourself into one instead of into a genial, cheerful, happy, and healthy leader of humanity. Whatever you wish to become, you may become. If you create your own personality alone, by yourself, it will have all of the weaknesses of the senses. The more you ask God to help you make yourself into His image, the more power of His mind you will have to fashion yourself into a powerful individual. When His nature and yours are one, you will then be a person of cosmic power and your creations will manifest your nature and God's nature as one. Our very name for God's creation is nature, for that is what nature is. I shall define nature for you. Nature is an electric wave thought image of God's nature, electrically projected from His formless and unconditioned one light into countless many forms of conditioned light that we call matter. Inspiration of genius. Your genius does not depend upon your ability to translate your soul-imagined patterns into material ones, for your genius unfolds for your own upliftment even if you never express it through a technique that gives it a body. To awaken your unique genius in your soul uplifts you to your own high heavens but does not uplift your neighbor to his until you have expressed it as a soul-to-soul message by giving it a formed body. When the genius of your soul sends out a visual or audible message that awakens the genius in another soul and re-inspires him with your inspiration, you have extended your immortality to another. That person then recognizes his own genius in the measure of your ability to awaken within him knowledge of his immortality. That is what is meant by the following quotation from Salutation to the Day in the message of the Divine Iliad, "I am the light of universal thinking. I translate the language of light into the words of man for those who know not their universality. Immortality is mine. I will earn immortality. I will bestow immortality. Mine is the power to give immortality. I shall not deny that which will give immortality to those who dwell in the darkness and who reach out for the light. I will reach out my hand and lead him who asks into the light. It is not necessary to another whom you may inspire that he should have the technical mastery of any instrument or medium you employ to lift him up into your ecstatic heaven, for the moment you inspire him with your genius, he has it in himself to the extent of the intensity of his inspiration. He cannot bring his heavenly inspirations to earth as you can, unless he acquires the technique that you have acquired. The inspiration with which you have inspired him has, however, uplifted his cultural standard and, in so doing, has uplifted the cultural standard of all humanity, even as one drop of water uplifts the whole ocean by that measure. Your transcendent genius is the result of your communion with God. By your masterly interpretation of the rhythmic heartbeat of his thinking, you have caused others to commune with you and God. Your meditation and theirs are one. You have made them forget their sensed bodies to dwell in the mind kingdom of your high heavens with you and all illumined souls who dwell in God's kingdom of light. That is the way that culture gradually awakens in unfolding humanity. Those who have come to know that kingdom through meditation tell it to others in the inspired language of light, that language which is beyond words, sounds, form, and technique. The language of light is from light to light or soul to soul, and there need be no words or sounds or form. The soul understands that universal language whenever it is expressed by soul. The body senses, centered at the seat of sensation in the brain, can never understand it, even though the senses hear it expressed in words and sounds and see it expressed in form. Meditation again defined. The seat of consciousness, which is the light in all people, centers the seat of sensation from which the electric action-reaction sequences of thinking extend. In meditation, you are partially or wholly severing the extending sensations of your thinking in order to find the stillness of the light, which your consciousness is. You thus momentarily lose your manifestation of the life that your body is in order to find the eternal life that your soul is. Let us again define meditation in other words. Meditation is a communion with God for the purpose of acquiring knowledge and power to manifest God as co-creator of his universe. In other words, meditation enables the mind to control matter. To the extent that you acquire knowledge, you acquire the power to control matter. That acquisition gives you the power to create your individual universe in your own image, as God creates his universe in his own image. Through meditation, you free yourself from slavery to your body and acquire mastery over it. Humanity has remained a slave to its body throughout history. You remain a slave to your bodily senses until knowledge gives your mind mastery over them. Since different words about the same thing have connotations that lead to better understanding, let us again define meditation with different words. Meditation is an intercommunication between your immortal mind and the electric senses of your mortal body. Meditation is a conference between your immortal mind self, who knows, your thinking, which builds images of your knowing, and your body, which acts in obedience to the will of your mind. Meditation is an expression of desire for knowledge of perfect cause for the purpose of producing perfect effect. In communion with God, you acquire God awareness, which means cosmic consciousness, by forgetting body awareness, which means material sensing. Your God awareness brings the realization of your light of cosmic consciousness. Your cosmic power is the measure of the intensity of your realization of your cosmic unity with God. Multiplying power. The only way you can multiply your strength to think, to create, or to command matter to your obedience, such as commanding your body to health or commanding masterly achievement by control over your body, is to multiply your God awareness. Your mind is one with cosmic mind. Your thinking is the thinking of cosmic mind. Your creative processes are the creative processes of cosmic mind. When cosmic mind concentrates its thinking, body forms appear in the image of its desiring. When cosmic mind decentrates its thinking, those body forms expand into disappearance to reappear when cosmic mind reconcentrates its thinking. You do likewise, for there is but one knower, one thinker, and one creator in the universe. God is all that is. You are all that is. In meditative communion with God, you become aware of this fact. To be alone with God is to know the ecstasy of cosmic awareness. Creating your universe. God creates his universal body by extending the electric pulsations of his thinking from the stillness of the light of his knowing. Idea of God's knowing is electrically projected through the motion of his thinking to waveforms of idea that we call matter. All matter is but electric wave pulsations of the thinking of God recording the idea of his thinking in forms that appear, disappear, and reappear to synchronize with the cyclic sequences of his concentrative decentrative reconcentrative thinking, which characterize the entirety of effect in this electric universe of his creating. The eternally creating universe is the result of the eternally continuous meditation of God. You create your universe in the same manner and by the same process and method, under control of the same law. There is no other manner, process, method, or law. Your universe of what you are is your mind idea, your soul's desire manifested into the material image of your thinking. Your universe is the result of your meditation. The most wonderful thing is that God, cosmic mind, will give you whatever you ask and will fulfill your desire, no matter what your desire is. You can make yourself into the kind of person you desire to be, whether bishop, poet, or thief, for the whole universe will work with you to fulfill your desire if you work with its law. If you work against the law, it will avail you nothing, even if you fulfill your desire. Balance your desires, therefore, and their fulfillment will, likewise, be balanced. Communion with God and meditation will not only mold your desires in harmony with cosmic law but will also give you knowledge of the nature of God, which will become your nature. To the extent that you reflect God's nature, your desires will also reflect God's nature.